Good morning, attendees, and a very warm welcome to you to today's webinar on SAP and Azure, best of both worlds for seamless migrations, hosted by Cloud4C and powered by Microsoft. I am Soumya, and I will be a moderator. I am honored and excited to host this session to help our audience learn more about this topic. Our speakers for today's session will be Mr. Karim Kalawi. He is Executive Vice President, Alliance Cloud4C. Karim carries 25 plus years of professional experience in the IT and technology sector in Gulf region. He's leading the Alliance initiatives at Cloud4C, and before this has spent over 16 years at Microsoft Middle East as a cloud leader. Our second speaker for today is Mr. Ravi Tank. He's Vice President CSP Cloud4C. Ravi comes with 22 plus years of thought leadership experience in the IT sector, with hands-on in architecting, deploying, managing, and securing organizational workloads on various cloud platforms. And our third speaker for today is Mr. Asim Gupta, Head SAP Services Sales Cloud4C. Asim heads the SAP Global Sales and GTM practice for Cloud4C. He has spent over 14 years at SAP in various roles, including cloud transformation, lead, helping SAP clients with frictionless cloud adoption. Now, before I hand over the mic to our first speaker, here is the agenda, Cloud4C Cloud Adaptation Framework Overview, SAP on Azure, three-stage approach, security and compliances on Azure, data localization solution on Azure, Cloud4C's SAP service portfolio, and at the end, we will have the question and answer.
Welcome again, everyone. My name is Karim Kalawi, as you've probably heard in the intro slides. And I want to spend probably the next 3-4 minutes just telling you about Cloud4C and our credentials with respect to building solutions for SAP on Azure. So Cloud4C is a born in the cloud partner, right? We're part of a bigger group. We started off in data centers, and we branched out, creating Cloud4C as a subsidiary that is exclusively focused on driving managed services in the cloud. And our area of specialty is specifically SAP on cloud and SAP on Azure. In that sense, we have more than 40,000 VMs that we're managing. For SAP HANA, we have 2,000 terabytes of memory of managed HANA and more than 1 billion hours of managed services delivered. And this has been done through a team of 1,800 cloud experts. Now, on top of that, our business model is quite different, and our service delivery actually comes out of India with specific local presence in the respective markets. So in the Middle East and Africa, our headquarters is here in Dubai. We also have satellite offices in Saudi Arabia, in Qatar, and BDM coverage in Bahrain. We more or less, in most of the cases, we work very closely with hyperscalers like Microsoft. So whenever they launch a particular data center or a region, we're definitely there to support the hyperscaler and to implement their solutions. So you would see us across all 6 continents, from Latin America in Colombia and Mexico, Central America in Mexico, North America in Canada and US. In Europe, we have presence in Netherlands, Switzerland, UK, Portugal, and Turkey. In APAC, this is probably where we have the biggest presence. We're present across all ASEAN markets with our corporate headquarters in Singapore and our service delivery out of India. And finally, in Australia and New Zealand, we're present in both. Now, what sets us apart? So, right, you can say that we can brag a lot, but the reality is we decided to leverage let's say, industry specific specializations and certifications, basically to validate our capabilities. And the badge that we're most honored to wear is the Microsoft Azure Expert MSP. Now, Azure Expert MSP is a very complex process. It requires that we prove to a third-party auditor that we can deliver what we claim to deliver. It requires a certain investment in resources and a proven track record. And in fact, we decided to go beyond that. So we achieved our Azure Expert MSP last year in 2019. We've just renewed it in 2020. So this is an ongoing certification. But more importantly, we decided to prove our skill sets in other areas as well. So Microsoft, at the beginning of this year, they came up with a model called advanced specializations. And this is where they focus on specific skill sets. So in terms of Microsoft Cloud, we are expert migration partners. So we have achieved the advanced specialization for Windows and SQL migration. And we also have, we're just about to be audited for the Linux specialization. But more importantly, we've also just recently achieved the SAP on Azure advanced specialization. And what does this mean to you? It means that we can provide an end-to-end cloud lifecycle management with a complete depth of technical expertise. And we deliver this through a team of more than 670 people to be exact, Azure certified experts. Now, what did this mean? Well, because of our capability in migrating to cloud, Microsoft rewarded us with the Partner of the Year for Qatar. And this was specifically for our efforts in terms of cloud migration. So we took one of the largest entities in Qatar and migrated it completely to cloud. And also this entity provides services to 110 other entities that we've set the foundation for. And we've moved everything that they have, including business applications like Oracle, like SAP, and others. And with that, I would like to hand over now to Ravi that can give you a bit more details on how we do this.
So hello everyone, good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to this session. So what I'm going to do is I'll quickly take you through the journey for SAP workload migration on Azure, that what are the things one should be looking at and how Cloud4C can help you build the robust framework through which you can take your SAP and non-SAP workload onto Azure and works towards the innovation. Okay. So very first thing, when you build a roadmap, and what we recommend for an SAP workload is that the first thing what you need to do is you need to move your SAP and the non-SAP workload onto Azure with a lift and shift methodology, or with some kind of enhancement you want to do, you can do that, but not complete transformation here. So stage one, we suggest that you move your workload onto Azure. Stage two, we encourage that the SAP and non-SAP workload, wherever possible, right, you can convert into the microservices and start using the PaaS and SaaS platform on Azure, which is the cloud native. And the third stage would be to deploying a big data platform and integrating with your IoTs, machine learning, and other data services here. Okay, so there is a three-stage approach is what we recommend any of our partners and the customers. So how do we do that? Let's take a look at it. Okay, so there are 7 stages to this journey. The first stage comes is that what you should be doing is that you should be preparing a cloud adoption framework, okay, which will focus on doing the right assessment for your current infrastructure. Second thing, the same framework, you should be looking at assessing your SAP workload. Okay, so this is very important because you need to know the SAP technical mapping. You need to understand the dependencies in modules, because we understand this is workload which you have on premise, right? It's been deployed for a longer period of time. And at times what happens is that if you do not have the proper dependency map, right, when you migrate your workload, migration may not be 100% successful, right? The third thing what we suggest is that through the cloud adoption framework is to creating a blueprint. So here you have to define the migration strategy. You have to define the scenarios, that how many, what type of scenarios through which you can migrate. what will be the outcome and acceptance criteria. So this is very important, the testing of your workload onto Azure with the performance testing, right? And you need to ensure that whatever the mapping you're doing on Azure, it is as per the approved SAP notes and as per the Microsoft best practices. The fourth stage is that once you have blueprint ready, right, then you should be looking at preparing a robust landing zone, because landing zones are an important aspect of it. If your landing zone is not done right, then going forward you may run into the issues. Then you take your workload onto Azure, which is through the lift and shift or redeployment, or in case if you're running your workload on non-Intel platform, right, then you can convert it into replatforming. So all these things which we are talking about here is decided with the stage 1 and stage 2 when you're doing the assessment and creating the blueprint, right? And once you are migrated, right, then you need to enforce the governance check that, okay, whatever you have migrated, right, has no other impact like cost impact. So in case if you're not done the right migration, if you're not selected the right instances or right storage type, right, then you have impact on your storage cost. Then you have the impact on your security baseline. So these are the things which we encourage a customer to do. I'll talk about in detail in next coming slide that how we can help you doing this, right? And the last part is the innovation. So then once you are onto the cloud, right, and doors are open for the innovation, so you can start adopting the microservices and any other services which you know want. Let me just take you through the Cloud4C digital transformation framework, which we have created in helping customers to adopt the cloud and with the right strategy. So the programs what we have are mainly towards the 4 areas. The first one is the infrastructure modernization program, which we run. Second is the application modernization, database, and the workspace modernization. So how we help organization to reach to the digital age, right? So which was the part, I mean, the third stage of innovation. So very first thing when we engage with any customer, right, through our Cloud framework, we understand and we help them through the planning and designing, which is nothing but an assessment, creation of the migration blueprint, helping them with the landing zone design. And once the customers are migrated onto the cloud, right, then what we do is that we look at the few aspects before even you start doing any kind of innovation. Is that very first thing we look at doing the governance. So we do the governance assessment here, understand from a cost, security baseline, resource consistency, and identity baseline perspective that how it is, and we fix this here. Then we look at the security posture. So once you're migrated, right, you would have done lift and shift approach, and might be there are some areas or some gaps which comes in from a security standpoint. So we again redo the compliances, we redo the security controls, right? And then the last portion what here we look at is the business continuity. So we define that the right business continuity or the SLA stand from SLA standpoint, right, your infrastructure should be having the maximum availability, and from a data standpoint, it should be zero data loss kind of a solution which you need to come true, right? So once you are migrated, right, then these are the things which we do, and post that we help you do the innovation, which is like you can convert identified applications which is non-SAP onto the containers, or few of the modules which you want to convert into containers, you can convert to containers or onto the cloud apps, which is the native services, or you can move to the SaaS solutions, right? And many other things which you can do here. Once customers are migrated and they start doing the innovation, right, how Cloud4C can help to the managed services is that our managed service model, if you look at it, is based on the principle of site reliability engineering. So there are three things which comes to the managed services. The first part is the AI ops. This is we call it as AI, but it's like artificial intelligence based operations. So what we do here is that we do the monitoring of the SLAs and the performance of the infrastructure. Any alerts coming in from the platform, from the application, from the security tools, right, are recorded here, and then it's been identified. Okay, defines that what are the actions needs to be taken. Is it a false positive? Is it something which we need to take some action here? And based on the plan, right, it will try and do the auto remediation. Okay, so it's like robots taking care of your infrastructure here. Along with the AI ops, what we have is we also do the DevOps. So any application deployment lifecycle, right, right from once the code is built to testing the code and moving the code onto the production, right? So it's like CI/CD pipelines we help you build through our DevOps services. And the last part is the center of excellence. So these are the teams, the various teams which we have. So there are total 22 various center of excellence we have. What they focus is on well-architected best practices. They focuses on operations management. So center of excellence, mostly what they do is that based on their findings, right, they try and automate things as much as they can. So all your repeated tasks, right, are mostly automated. This is mainly from a SLA standpoint, availability standpoint, and as well as from agility standpoint, right? So this is how we help organization to do the transformation and do the handholding for them. Let me talk about a few things on our cloud adoption framework. So this is the robust framework which we have created and through which we have helped organization create the migration blueprint and migrate to the cloud. So there are three stages to the Cloud 4C cloud adoption framework. The stage one, we call it as a strategy and planning. So here we understand from the business that what is their cloud vision, what are the motivations, objectives and outcomes, right? And based on that, what we do is we do the analysis of their current workload deployment. So we discover not only just the compute and storage here, but we look at in detail about the application here. So your SAP workload, right? We go into detail about each and every modules, how they're deployed, what are the dependencies, what are the security postures, right? So it's like 360-degree assessment is what we do. We also look at the business continuity here. And we see that when you go onto Azure, right, how we can leverage the cloud native and ensure that your SLAs from a business continuity standpoint, which is the RTO, RPOs, are better. Right? So once we collect all the detailed information about infrastructure, right, in a stage two, which we call it as a readiness stage, here we create the migration blueprint. So in this blueprint, what we do is we first identify the gaps, right? Then we define the as is and to be landscape. Then your migration approach has been defined. So here it could be lift and shift, redeployment, or replatform, right? Based on the analysis, we come up with the recommendation. The blueprint also consists of cloud landing zone readiness. So here we talk about the network security, compute, and the business continuity portion, that what you should be doing it when you go on to the Azure. Even before you start migrating your workload to Azure, you need to have the right cloud landing zone blueprint. And the last part which you get in this blueprint is migration timelines, migration approach, and the project plan. Okay. The third stage is actually the execution stage, where we help organization based on the blueprint migrate the workload, do the governance check, which I talked about, right? And then it opens up for the innovation. Let me quickly take you through the landing zone, right? Why we are emphasizing on landing zone. This is something which is very important, right? So landing zone, how we build and what we encourage our customer to do is that very first thing on the landing zone in a stage one, when you do that, you need to put the governance procedures and policies here, which means when you create something on Azure, right, your portal access, right, the moment you create that, we suggest that we put the right policies as per the organization standard operating procedures. So which means for SAP workload, right, there are certain allowed SKUs which are certified, right? These are the certified SKUs which are only allowed for an SAP workload, or the storage from a security standpoint, right? So these are the policies which we create. So policy is the service which you get in Azure. So we create this policy first, and then what we do is in a stage two, we go and create the Azure platform services. Post this, what we do is we look at landing zone readiness. Stage three, here we look at the security posture. So once your landing zone governance is defined, your Azure components are defined, we look at the Azure security. So here we look at the tools which are required, right, to configure. Mostly we look at the cloud native, and if the cloud native are not something which can provide the result which is expected, then we look at the third-party tools from the marketplace, or we bring in the tools. Right? So once this is done, right, once your landing zone is robust and tested out, right, then we migrate your workload, or we do the deployment for the greenfields. We have a program which we are running. We call it as a SAP on Azure 5 days assessment workshop. In this, what we do is we understand your base. This is based on a cloud awesome framework. So here we understand your complete posture of the SAP landscape, which is running on premise, right? And then we come up with the right migration blueprint for you, along with the TCO and ROI samples. Okay, so it's like end-to-end journey defined in a blueprint for you, for an SAP and non-SAP workload, which has a dependency on SAP. So let me give you an example of the TCO comparison. Okay, so how we do, what are the parameters we take into the consideration, and what it looks like. So this is, we have just masked the name of the organization. So this is the organization who is running multiple workloads on premise, which consists of around 237 servers, around 130 workloads, right? So it was like a combination of a primary site and the secondary site here. So what are the factors, right? So data center, hardware, software and security, and IT operations and labor cost. So these are the factors at high level we take into the consideration when we do the TCO comparison, right? And we also look at with the current stage of what are the disadvantages they have, and define any assumption if required. So once you do this, right, and when you run the TCO calculation and comparison, right, how it looks like is like somewhere around, for this organization it has came to 54%. Generally the range is between anywhere between 25 to 60. Okay, this one definitely had lots of things which was towards more towards the legacy and things like that. So that's why it has came to 54%. So now this depends again. Okay, but this is how we can come and help you building the right TCO for you along with your migration blueprint and readiness part. Moving forward, we also have developed a data localization frameworks. So with this, now this is something, if you're into the BFSI industry, right, that's something which you are on the hit right now, but any other industries are soon going to get into this, because all the regulators or the local governing body is looking for some sort of a data localization solution. So let me just give you with an example here. Okay, so this particular solution which we have designed is for the BFSI industry, and here it was all greenfield, but it doesn't matter. Okay, it could be your SAP workload, it could be your any workload. The framework what we have created here is that what we do is during the building of the landing zone, right? What we do is we help identify that how we can do the subjective logic insertion into the application, so that your application can independently take the decision from where the person is accessing data, what type of policies you should be applying on the fly, right? And what type of restrictions you should be giving it when this data is being accessed, right? Also, it will understand that data should not move out of the country. So it will have the perimeters, logical boundaries, which will identify, validate, and then take the decision whether it is okay, not okay, or what type of alerts they need to start sending, right? Because data localization solution is something which is like you would need 100% of your compliances, which means you need to have your all the controls which you deploy, right, to ensuring this solution. It should be always 100%, and there has to be a continuous monitoring. So this is how we have created the data localization framework, and we can help deploy for SAP, non-SAP, or any other next generation workload, which is like all cloud native, right? So this is through the framework which we have created. Here, the example which I'm giving is for the BFSI industry. So this is the one which is actually looking for the solution at this point, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'll quickly take you through the Cloud 4C SAP capability and So, so we are one of the global premium supplier for SAP for delivering the HANA Enterprise Cloud. Along with that, we also do the direct business with the customer. Wherever there is no HEC, we support the customer directly. So put together today, Cloud4C has got more than 550 plus customers to whom we are servicing. Around 2 petabyte plus HANA databases we are supporting, and around 6,000 plus SIDs we are supporting through our managed services. Okay. From an end-to-end managed service portfolio, all the standard SAP solutions as well as the third-party extended portfolio is what we are supporting today, and helping organizations to leverage our AI ops-based operations and doing the things automatically, like automating the things, as well as through the robotic process automations, we are helping organization leverage the true cloud nativeness here. From a SAP service portfolio, my colleague is going to talk about in detail, but right from the application managed services, HANA Enterprise Cloud, SAP Cloud Hosting on various cloud platform, SAP Disaster Recovery Services, and the migration services is what we are offering. It's end to end under one roof, right? Let me take you through the few of the case study before we deep dive into the SAP service portfolio. So here, this particular organization, Crescent Petroleum, right? It's a greenfield deployment for the SAP. So they had the legacy workload, which they transform into the SAP. And what they were looking was for a scalable solution on cloud platform. So we did through our cloud framework, we did the analysis of their greenfield deployment, and then we designed a solution for them, which is offering them 99.95% of the uptime with a so the idea is that uptime should be higher and your cost should be lower. Okay, So it's like initially when we deployed right here, and then we did a governance assessment check, right? Post that, we were able to achieve this expectation of a customer. And this deployment was done in 6 weeks. And here the solution what we deployed is a zero data loss kind of a solution. And we are offering them end-to-end managed services. The second case study which we have is the Rack Ceramics. So here we have helped them achieve the 40% of the TCO. So the Rack Ceramics already had the SAP workload deployed on premise, and they had SAP workload deployed in 3 different countries. So the first thing what the requirement was to consolidate the SAP environment and then migrate onto Azure. So here when we help them create the blueprint and create a landing zone, right, and post that we supported them for doing the migration. So total benefit what they are seeing at this point is around 40% in the TCO running on premise, right? And there is a DR solution with the near zero RTO kind of a solution has been deployed, right, with a zero disruption in the business. This is the last case study, is for the Tasni. This was for the KSA. So here we help them migrate their HEC private cloud environment, which was in Germany, onto Azure through our Cloud Awesome framework and with our migration skills. All right, so I would like to call Asim. Hi, Asim.
Hi, hi everybody, and hi Ravi. How are you? Thank you for
Asim,
handing
over to you now for the taking us through the this SAP service portfolio.
Allow me to share my screen now without doing further delay.
Sure, go ahead, please.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, your screen is visible.
Okay, thank you everybody, and thank you Ravi for taking us through this amazing value proposition based comprehensive portfolio of Cloud4C. And it's my turn to take you through the audience through the rest of the application related services and enterprise services that we have built on top of our key strengths in the space of cloud. So far you've heard all about Cloud4C's cloud infrastructure, security, business continuity capability in the space of SAP and Azure. We basically have approximately 200 odd customers, or maybe more than 200 odd customers across 25 countries globally, using that kind of a platform across various cloud platform solutions, and majority of them are on Azure. What we have done so far in the last 1 year as a part of this portfolio development is we have taken this step further, and we have bounced on our strong capabilities of automation and created an end-to-end enterprise service portfolio for SAP customers. And that is the slide that you see is a value proposition slide, which we have when we start explaining our customers why SAP with Cloud4C. It is divided into 4 sections, as you see. Down below, you see the full stack automation of SAP landscape. This is purely the SAP managed services on Azure cloud platform, which you have been hearing about from my esteemed colleagues on the call. We have mastered that, and we have great success stories in that, and I'm not going to talk about that anymore. But what we have now done is we have taken that concept of automation and DevOps further and started investing into implementations and migration factories. What this basically means is that we have created a center of excellence and a factory-based approach, which is based out of our headquarters in Hyderabad in India, with the sales and pre-sales teams across at various countries, is that we have heavily invested in certain proprietary tools, certain external tools, to give a complete migration factory flavor to our customers who really want to migrate from ECC to S/4HANA, including upgrades, Unicode conversions, platform migrations, everything included in a comprehensive way. And that allows us to pass on the benefit of faster implementations by approximately 50%, much cheaper because we use less number of resources. The whole change management process is automated. The testing is automated to a large extent, mostly in the regression testing phase. And we have a shared services delivery model, which allows us to use the resources optimally. This is in partnership with some of the global S4 partners. The biggest one is SNP. And we have developed this whole migration factory, and now we are able to pass on further automation dividends to the customers. So this is not only relevant for migrations, this is also relevant for implementations, which we use a similar kind of methodology. And there is a roadmap that we have created to cover all SAP products as a part of this automated implementation and migration. The next you see is the application management services, which is again built on the same lines. And we are basically calling it AI operations based application management services. Again, a highly automated practice where we reduce the human intervention to the maximum possibilities, and we continue to improve on that and pass on the quality benefits of automating the application management practice as well. And finally, what you see is the automated business operations. This is talking about the business process automation. So leveraging the SAP IRPA product and trying to automate key business processes across all business departments of the customers. So with that, I have tried to explain the value proposition of what Cloud4C is taking across to customers with regards to providing an end-to-end one-stop shop kind of an offering, which is lowest cost-based approach and the fastest delivery-based methodology. And that is what we call it, automation at the core of SAP, whether it is infrastructure or a business process, we cover it all. This is a predefined ECC to S/4HANA migration package. We have defined it across as t-shirt sizes, depending on the complexity of the data, the system landscapes, starting from the database size, then the number of simplifications that have to be done based on the modules that the customers have implemented, the number of ABAP objects to be adjusted based on the ABAP toolkit report, the finance module simplification that the customer demands, the organizational scope with regards to company codes and the countries included in the S/4HANA implementation, the total number of interfaces to be handled as a part of the migration, and the total number of Fiori apps to be adjusted, implemented based on the customer needs. These are fixed price, fixed scope, fixed timeline offerings. We have a questionnaire-based approach based on the questionnaire fulfillment, which obviously includes an S/4HANA readiness check report. As we receive the fulfilled questionnaire, we are able to turn around the proposal within no time and pass on a real value proposition-based S/4HANA migration, which is a completely automated service. These are the details which we cover in a system conversion service in a standard package. We do the readiness check and the assessment based on the questionnaire. We convert all the systems. We do the custom code adjustments. We adapt the functional modules through the simplification formats. We do the unique user experience enablement for the standard Fiori apps. The integration part is taken care of and the documentation and sign off. But any S/4HANA migration project is not completed with these steps. So we have to include optional services as well, and that depends on customers' requirement. It could be like upgrades and migrations of other systems in the landscape, because when you're upgrading and migrating in S/4HANA, the other systems also need to be at a particular release. The HANA optimization service, or some of them call it as HANAtization services for performance optimization. The Fiori enablement for customized apps. The standard apps have been included already in the standard package, so the customized apps can be included in optional. Activation of more functional modules that have not been implemented in the previous ECC release and are now part of the new S/4HANA release. Security adjustments, both front-end as well as back-end, which could be a Fiori-based front-end adjustment and the back-end roles and authorizations concept of the old ECC. And finally, any additional scope which is desired in an S/4HANA move project can be covered in the optional inclusions. So this is how we have tried to simplify the whole S/4HANA migration, S/4HANA move for customers interested. We also have custom packages which cannot be predefined, but we will obviously predefine as we proceed going forward. We are a global partner with a very strong S/4HANA services provider, a software and services provider called SNP, a German-based company. They deal in large transformation projects such as mergers, acquisitions, carve-outs, and they specialize in selective data migration. So whenever there is a selective data migration kind of requirement, we have a very strong team who is extremely skilled in the SNP technology to navigate customers' complex requirements. Next is the AMS practice. Here we follow the standard ITSM methodology. As you know, Cloud4C has been a pioneer in the managed services space, which is predominantly technical managed services. We have taken it a step further, and now we cover the application and the functional support as well. And we follow the traditional ITSM methodology with regards to incident management, change management, service request management, etc. We cover pretty much all the verticals and all the lines of businesses of SAP. We have packages defined from very small, like 50 hours per month, to as big as thousands of hours per month. It's an hourly based approach that we have gone into. It's a very compelling and a very cost effective service, again, because of the automation capabilities that we have incorporated. Next is the robotic process automation, where again we have defined these t-shirt based pricing and packages. So fixed price, fixed scope, fixed timeline. The product that we use is the SAP Intelligent RPA. Depending on the number of processes to be implemented, there is a feasibility study and a demo, which is free of cost. Only when the customer is happy with the demo, we move on to a paid implementation service. And that is, again, a very, very economical service. And, I have tested this already in the market, and the feedback that I receive is quite compelling. So these are some of the packages that we have defined as a part of our, enterprise services portfolio. And to make it even further simpler, we have launched this Switch to Cloud package, which includes all the managed services component on Azure, the S/4HANA transformational projects, where it is a conversion, migrations, implementations, mergers and carve-out kind of complex transformations, and the application management services, including business process automation, all together for customers who are still on ECC and looking to migrate to cloud and S4. We try to amortize the complete initial cost and provide them a real return of investment by a very low TCO and lowest upfront investment. This is where we are seeing a lot of traction in the market, and this is where customers see a value in Cloud4C, where we are able to bring all the pieces together and offer them a very simple way of delivering this service, which allows them to take quick decisions, allows them to spend lesser money, and makes them more comfortable in the journey as well. That's where I would like to end. And I just wanted to thank you, everybody, for giving us an opportunity to take you through all our new offerings.